Hello, welcome to Gamerson. I'm gonna give my thoughts on the new Battlefield game, Battlefield 2042. It just came out a few days ago for gold and premium players, and all the normal plebeians, they still gotta wait. Some time ago, we made a video talking about the fall of the Battlefield series and why I don't really like it anymore. So then why was I so excited for this Battlefield when the series was basically dead for me? Well, that's because this Battlefield was advertised with co-op play against bots on the big multiplayer maps, which was basically the only reason why I played Battlefield to begin with. I started playing Battlefield with Battlefield Vietnam and 1942. Me and my brother would play the co-op mode on all the multiplayer maps, and it was great. We played so much. We enjoyed those games for many years, and then they basically took all the fun stuff out of the games, and here we are. They finally brought it back. But is it any good? Let's see. So you start the game and you get presented with two game modes, Conquest and Breakthrough. They're both kind of similar, but still different enough, and they're both fun. Breakthrough is basically the same as Rush, only instead of like planting bombs or hacking computers or whatever the fuck you had to do there, and now you just have to capture points, but it plays essentially the same as Rush. Now both of these game modes can be played against real players or against bots. Since I bought this game solely to play against bots, that's literally the first thing I did, and it works pretty well. The AI is not completely retarded. They play the game well, they play the objectives, they fly around in helicopters and jets and drive around in tanks, and they kill you from far distances, short distances. The AI is pretty well done. What I don't understand though is that there are almost no options. You can't switch teams, which is just very stupid, so that makes it that you can only play Breakthrough as the attacking faction, never as the defending faction, which is fucking stupid. For some reason you can only play the maps against bots on like the smaller versions of the maps, not on the biggest versions, which is obviously the most fun. I don't know why they did that. Also, if you play against bots, the amount of players is much lower than if you play against real people, which is also incomprehensible why they did that. So while I am glad that they put the game mode in there where I can play the maps against bots, they also kind of fucked it up by giving me absolutely no options. You can't choose the amount of tickets, it's always the same. You can't switch teams, you can't choose the size of the maps. It's all very bare bones, it's all very dumbed down, and it reminds me a lot of Battlefield 2, which is, in my opinion, the very worst Battlefield. It's absolutely dreadful for players like me who just want to play against bots. It was a complete insult, and it's kind of similar to that. The only thing that puts it above Battlefield 2 is that you can play co-op against bots, so that's pretty good, that's fun. That redeems the game a whole lot. Then on the subject of maps, it's very bad. There are only 7 maps, not counting the Battlefield Portal maps. I'll talk about those later. There are only 7 maps in the main game, and only 7 maps that you can play against bots, because there's Battlefield Portal maps you can't play against bots, so those basically don't count for me. And the maps, they're all basically the same thing. They're the standard big open Battlefield maps, but somehow they feel much more empty than they were before. They feel like slapped together almost. It's like every map is the exact same thing, just with like different scenery. They're really, really boring. All of the maps are basically horrible, except for 2, which are kind of decent, and that is Renewal and Orbital, I think, like the one with the Space Center. Those are the only 2 that stand out from the rest. All the other maps are just boring crap. I don't know what the fuck happened. I mean, there's like one map that's just a bunch of shipping containers. That's boring. That's fucking boring. And then there's a map in the desert. It's like completely open with no cover anywhere. There's almost no features on that map. On the side of the map, you have like those skyscrapers, but once you reach that part, it's also still very open, and it comes off as really lazily built, all of these maps. Back in the day of Battlefield Vietnam, we had so many different kind of maps. Sure, there were also bad maps in that game, but at least we had like the classic Battlefield maps, like the big open ones. But then we also had like more close quarters city maps. Then you had Cambodian Incursion and the Ho Chi Minh Trail kind of maps, which are kind of similar to the Breakthrough mode. Only those were still Conquest maps, but they played similar to Breakthrough. So when it comes to the maps and the game modes, 2 game modes is fine by me, but we desperately need more maps. And give me the option to play the big maps, like the bigger version of the maps against bots. Give me the option to actually play against more bots and to increase or decrease the amount of tickets. Give me the option to change teams. So many options that are just not in the game, and it reminds me so much of Battlefield 2, like this dreadful experience. You can still fix this. Please fix this. Then another thing I gotta talk about is the helicopters. It's one of the things I enjoyed the most about Battlefield, is like I would switch things up, like playing as a ground soldier is also a lot of fun, or as a tank or whatever, but it was always a ton of fun to play as a helicopter. And now the handling of the helicopters is so dumbed down. It feels so simplistic, like all the fun is out of it. It almost feels like Just Cause and Far Cry type helicopter handling, which is like the worst it can be. It's almost that. It's a little bit better, so please fix that. It's still amazing to me that 17 years after Battlefield Vietnam, and they have so many games in that fucking series, Battlefield Vietnam is still the best game. Still has the best helicopter handling and airplane handling, and so many options to create matches and stuff. And this game just doesn't even come close. It's really pathetic. So really flying around in helicopters isn't that fun anymore because it's just so dumbed down. That doesn't mean that it can't be fun, but it's not as fun as it used to be. I didn't just play against bots, I also played a couple of actual multiplayer matches, but it's not for me. Every time I play it, I'm just thinking, ugh, I want to play against bots. It's so much more fun. You have so much more freedom to do whatever you want. Like I wanna go in a helicopter. There's always a helicopter available if you want, unless you just crashed one, then you gotta wait a little bit, which is fine, I think. Also, something that they should do is, if you make changes to the game for the sake of the multiplayer mode, those changes aren't necessarily a good thing for the co-op mode against bots. So those 2 modes, playing against players and playing against bots, should really stand apart. Don't do what Rainbow Six Siege did and just ruin the co-op mode for the sake of the multiplayer. Don't do that. When you patch the game, just keep the 2 modes mostly separate, please. And also let me level my shit when I play against bots, because otherwise I'm basically just playing a nerfed version of the game, and I don't want to do that. I want to have fun. There's also a kind of squads battle royale mode, which I played once, and that was enough. I don't know why these game studios think that they need to put battle royale in every fucking single game. I guess it would be better if you could also play it against bots, but in its current state and how it is in literally every game, it doesn't appeal to me, and I think it's boring as shit. So that's a completely pointless addition to the game. It may as well not even be there. And then there's also Battlefield Portal, which I didn't even know was going to be in this game. And it's basically just 6 maps from previous Battlefield titles that you can play. And there's several game modes. I know you have Rush and Conquest, maybe there's more. I'm not entirely sure, but you can't play it against bots, so it's also not appealing to me. I played a couple matches. It's not my thing. The maps are better than in the standard game. You have some World War II maps, you have some maps from Battlefield 3, Bad Company 2, maybe some other crap, but the maps are a little bit better than the maps from 2042. But I can't play them against bots, so what's the point? That's really the only reason why I play Battlefield. And don't come at me in the fucking comment section bitching to me about that I'm playing Battlefield in a way that it was never intended or whatever. No, it was intended like this. I played fucking 1942 and Vietnam like this constantly. It was like the one thing that was really good about these games. and they just fucking cut it out for 17 years and now it's finally back, but it's still not the greatness that it once was. But at least it's kind of back. So I had to pay 90 euros for this game to actually already be able to play it, which is kind of ridiculous. But at least I got like a bunch of extra crap for it. So maybe that's something. Maybe it'll turn out to something interesting. But in its current state, Battlefield 2042 is not worth 60 euros. 90 euros, definitely not 110 euros. The game that we basically have, which is 7 maps against bots or AIs, that's a game of maybe 15 euros. That's what you have. So I don't recommend that you buy this actually. I would say wait for a sale or wait until next year. Really wait a full fucking year until you buy it, so that at least they added a bunch of extra maps. Because the way it is right now, I played the game for like 12 hours I think, and I'm completely sick of it. The maps are boring as shit. They're really boring. They're really bad. I don't know what the fuck happened, but the maps are fucking awful. Anyway, it's not worth its money, but I'm glad that finally I can kind of play Battlefield again the way I used to. Maybe some of you are like asking, why aren't you just playing Battlefield Vietnam if you think that game is so fucking great? Well, the reason is it didn't really age very well. If you're used to playing modern shooters, then going back to that game, the gunplay and mechanics and stuff, they're not very good, except for the flying. The flying is still very good. Oh, and the AIs are completely retarded too. So for a very long time I had been waiting for a game that was basically Battlefield Vietnam or 1942, but just modernized. I don't fucking care about the setting of the game. I don't care about the story. I don't care about any of that fucking crap. I just want to play a fun game. And I'm still kind of waiting for like Battlefield Vietnam to be reborn, because this one, Battlefield 2042, it is better than previous titles. It's definitely better than Battlefield 5, but the game is basically the exact same game as Battlefield 3, only with different maps, and you can play it against bots, which is good. But really, it doesn't look any better than Battlefield 3. It doesn't play any better. It even plays kind of worse when you look at like the air vehicle handling and stuff. And I even think that land vehicles also handle worse. So it's kind of inferior to a game that's 10 years old, but it gets extra points for being able to be played against bots. So yeah, the main issues for me right now are basically just the lack of good maps and the lack of options when you want to play the game against bots, and the helicopter handling. But that's basically it. If you can kind of fix those 3 points, then the game will go up from like being worth 15 euros to maybe be worth 40 euros, if you can fix all that stuff. Only time will tell, I guess. Okay, bye.